Welcome back to the Tailosive Space Podcast, SN7. I'm your host, Nick. Joining with me tonight is DJ. How are you doing, DJ?
Doing pretty good. Been really busy, too.
Really busy? Well, that's a good sign. Wouldn't want you to not be busy, seeing how we have had so many launches. Actually, not quite as many, seeing how we've been gone for like a month and a half. And given our current trajectory from before we took a quick little break, you would have think, we'd had hundreds of launches and maybe a few, Starhopper or, not Starhopper, Starship. It's late. How are you doing? So, yeah. Well, wow. We're spiraling here. This is how you know it's a live show and I don't edit things. So, what was your favorite launch out of all the launches that have happened since the last time we talked?
I think the Salcom 1B that just happened recently. This is the first return to launch site that we've had in a long time.
That was very exciting to see. It's so nice that they have like real good tracking cameras, ground-based tracking cameras. You can just watch it like the legs deploy. It always shocks me every time those things slam into the ground at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's just
I can't remember the last.
Suicide burn.
I can't remember the last time there was a return to launch site. It's definitely
was it the last Falcon Heavy launch.
It might have been. Then again, it might have also been the one that kind of had the grid fin issue where it landed in the water.
Oh, that was a while ago. I think that was like 2018.
I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long time either way.
Yeah. Well, so happy to have it back. And my goodness, we have had Bob and Doug land. So we had a very successful DM2 mission. That was pretty cool. Did you have any thoughts and impressions on Bob and Doug's time in space and then their return?
The time in space, I didn't really pay too much attention to what all they did, but I definitely watched the return live, and I was watching with somebody, and they said, that might be a fishing boat that's coming up to them. Well, there was a lot of fishing boats coming up to them.
If I had a fishing boat, I would probably have been doing the exact same thing. I would have been in trouble with the Coast Guard and everything. But
they're definitely gonna have a few more ships out there for now.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have I think they had that one mistake, and so going forward, they're gonna be like, "Hey everyone, you saw in the news, you're not supposed to be doing this. It's dangerous."
Like 2 days later, 2 days later, I opened up TikTok, and the first video I saw was somebody that's actually in the Coast Guard and on the ship that was kind of assisting it whenever everybody showed up. It was just the speedboat run trying to clear out everybody. I was like, thank you. TikTok is good for one thing now.
And now it's canceled. And the Chinese government can't even sell it to Microsoft?
I think that's who was buying it.
That headline.
Or was.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, I was thinking about that, and those people probably didn't realize how much danger they were in, because the Super Draco thrusters that are still full of hypergolics, full of hypergolics. I don't know how many pounds of hypergolics they have on board, but at least 1,000 pounds of hypergolics, right?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
It'll make a big boom. That's what it will do.
Right? And
we've seen that happen.
Just a couple times, right, on the test stand. They're hypergolics, right? So they ignite on contact with each other, and so there's a lot of water, seawater. Maybe it'd been on station for 90 days or something, somewhere around there. So
something like that,
there's a potential that maybe some leaks could have occurred, and if that would have happened, even if there were leaks from two different tanks on opposite sides of the vehicle, if the ocean water would have brought those two together, just bam.
Yeah. And to steal Tim's reference a little bit, what if somebody tried to get up close to it in the motor stall and they just punctured?
That's a sad thought. That's a very sad thought, because I wonder what the emergency egress procedure is for the crew. I know they had one in Apollo, and it took something like 5 minutes for them to get out in an emergency fashion, and that's just ridiculous. So I would imagine.
Let's just hope we don't ever find out what that emergency procedure is. I know.
All of the emergency procedures, that's part of the Apollo program that really fascinates me, just all of the emergency procedures they had in the space shuttle too. NASA has a contingency plan for just about everything. But I'd be curious to see what some of the contingency plans are for DM2, and then also just Crew Dragon in general. They'd probably be pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Especially with the SpaceX Ninjas.
Yes. SpaceX Ninjas are pretty cool. Like, wanting to be an astronaut is top of my, like, what Nick wants to do when he grows up. But then, like, SpaceX Ninja is, like, number 2 or 3. Right after, like, Elon Musk and or astronaut somewhere in there. Can I just be Elon Musk when I grow up? Yeah. So on station, Bob and Doug were able to swap quite a few batteries. They had quite a fun time. They had quite a few spacewalks. At least Bob did. And
I think he ended up having about 3.
3?
I think
3. I know he's in the 10 club now. Like, he's performed his 10th spacewalk.
Yeah.
And I think there are only a handful of other astronauts who have actually done 10 spacewalks before. So, like, it's a pretty big honor to have 10 spacewalks to your name. And I'm trying to remember when he did all those other spacewalks. Like, I know he had walked in space, but I didn't think 3 would put him over 10. Like, I didn't know he already had 7.
Well, I can't remember how many times he went up on the shuttle, but it was more than 2.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. I mean, obviously, 10 makes sense. I'm just trying to think, like, what they were doing. Like, his class of astronauts wasn't building the ISS, and there wasn't a ton of maintenance to do after. So, I don't know. Interesting.
Quick tangent real quick. Speaking about building the ISS, the final module that they're actually going to put up is finally almost finished.
I saw that, and
it's,
only in
it's
passing.
It's the last piece on the Russian side.
Okay. Do you know much about that?
I
saw that.
I don't know.
Of,
I can't remember who
Scott Manley's videos.
Yeah, okay, that must have been who I saw it on.
I saw it in one of Scott Manley videos, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Module.
But I didn't look into it, so let's see what the internet has to say.
Yeah, that didn't give me anything.
Well. That's a bummer.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well,
either way, it's almost finished after 20 years.
So how long do you think the ISS is going to last? So I know they currently have it funded to, 2025? But outside of funding, physical hardware. Okay, so if you think back to Mir was the first, the
Russian space
long-duration station. And in, what was that, 98 or something? I can't remember.
97, 98, I think. Something like
97, 98. So it was like, I think it went up in the 90, in like 89 or 90. But it was like an old station. It was 10 years old or something like that. And obviously it probably wasn't quite as well maintained or as engineered for quite as much longevity as the ISS has been. But the last mission up to Mir was a U.S.-Russian one with a space shuttle. And I was watching some video where one of the astronauts was saying it just smelled like mold and mildew and BO and rusting machinery, and like it was super rickety and the power didn't work sometimes. And I'm just like, wow. Like, obviously there's been a lot of like engineering improvements, and we figured out how to make better things, and maybe some better air scrubbers and stuff. But there has to be like a shelf life for these things. Like, how many cans of tuna can you open on the ISS before you have to leave?
I'm gonna say probably. I'm gonna go ballpark 10 years left.
10 years left. Okay.
Because if I'm correct about this, the plan is to start adding on to the space station with a different station, and then when that new one gets enough parts and is sustainable by itself, it's going to break away and the space station is going to deorbit. But if they keep going the way they are, I'm going to say it probably has 10 years left before some major overhauls are needed, because that'll end up making it 30 years old.
Man. Well, seeing that there's some seats available on some Soyuz missions going to the ISS in some amount of time, I'm just trying to figure out how I can make $60 million to be able to go to the ISS before it's no longer a thing and it gets disintegrated.
How viral of a video do you need to make?
Let's see. So you make about a penny a click. So what's that? 6 billion views? So I just
You might want to add another couple zeros behind that.
60 million. Yeah, it's 6 billion. It's 2 more zeros.
If it's like
60 million.
0.3, it's like 3 cents per 1,000 views.
Oh, no. You get about $5 a 1,000 views or thereabouts. So everyone, share this podcast. Send both Nic and DJ to the ISS before 10 years from now. So we have to make this a goal. 'Cause wouldn't that be so cool? Like all those people who've been to the ISS, all the astronauts, like that's like a piece of history you visited, and it's only for a certain amount of time. Like after they deorbit that, there's going to be not another human being is ever going to be able to visit the ISS after they deorbit it.
Yep.
And so it's like this little window that you have to visit it and participate in the history.
Although going from end of life on this to whenever they build the lunar station, I mean, one's got to go for the other to survive, but that's gonna be
That's such a limited view. They should just fund everything. Congress should just say
increase
Social Security,
increase
Medicare.
NASA by
Who
tenfold.
needs that? Who needs that? We just give it all to NASA. We need to fund everything. Some teenager with a great idea like Elon back in the day, like man, we need to fund everybody.
Imagine if NASA had 10% of what the military's budget was.
Okay, so NASA has right now about 0.5% of the U.S. budget, and the U.S. budget, about 18% of that goes to the federal, Army and Navy and military stuff. So would that be 9%? The total federal budget was $4 trillion last year. What's 9% of $4 trillion? She didn't want to do the math. This is embarrassing. What is 9% of $4 trillion?
I can't get the answer to that on Apple Watch.
What is it? What
Siri.
is up with Siri? We were talking before we started rolling here, and DJ was talking about 100 degrees Celsius or something, and I'm like, what is that in normal speak? And DJ just went, hey, what is 100 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? Both of us not realizing that that's the boiling point of water, right? And so his HomePod said, I'm sorry, but I can't get the answer to that on HomePod. And I'm just like...
Then I turn around and ask it, what's the boiling point of water? And it gives me that.
Siri is so weird.
Oh, I'm just waiting for it to glitch out and turn my lights back regular. It's been doing that randomly for some reason.
Well, if your room suddenly gets white, then we'll know what happened to the pretty colors. It's not some rocket flame that he has in the background there that's making it that eerie orange color. Speaking of rocket flames, did you see the 5-section solid rocket booster for SLS that they tested today?
No, I did not. Did they stream that or did they just record it?
I think it was just on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter. Maybe it wasn't today.
I knew it was supposed to be testing, but I didn't know when it was.
Timeline. Yeah, it was definitely tested, and it's so funny how they launch it sideways, or not launch it, but they test it sideways. Like instead of doing the whole work to put it vertical, they just put it sideways.
Well, I mean, those things, whenever they get going, they won't stop. So if you're pointing it up and something goes wrong,
exactly,
it's going to go up.
Better have either a range safety officer or some good hold down stuff. So here's the video here. Let me see if I can just text it to you real quick. But yeah, it's
let's see if I can open it up on my computer and it not shoot to 100 degrees again.
Just on Twitter here, but yeah, they just like all the other tests of big rockets, right? Like SpaceX is always vertically. They always test vertical.
Yeah,
that's Elon's big thing. Like you don't have to test it twice; you just test it once. But
well, they do test it twice. They tested it at McGregor before they sent it out to Kennedy.
Well, and then they have a static fire, so I guess test it 3 times. But yeah, at least for engineering concepts and stuff, they don't do horizontal tests.
Oh,
they do vertical
wow!
Tests. I know, but like you wouldn't want to be a bird in that canyon after it just erupts and it's like an explosion. I mean,
that is what a rocket crazy.
Is, right? But you just have to imagine with a bunch of rockets lined up like that along the Earth, could you actually speed up the spin of the Earth if you launched enough energy in one direction? I mean, it'd have to be obscene amounts of energy.
I wonder how many of those it would take.
Oh, probably covering the whole surface of the planet, maybe 2 or 3 deep.
Jeez.
But there has to be a way you could adjust the spin of a planet, right? Like Elon's talked about speeding up Mars' spin with nukes.
Technically, I can't remember what it is that we do, but every time that we do something, we actually like affect the actual speed of our spin or rotation.
Yeah, well, we're always having gravitational pulls on each other. Like, we're affecting the Earth as much as the Earth is affecting us. The Earth is just so much bigger that it's a rounding error.
It is a big one.
It isn't even a rounding error, yeah. It's not even really a rounding error. But yeah, we're always affecting the Earth, and I would imagine that there has to be a number of those SLS boosters that could, speed up the day to be 24 hours, or maybe even slow it down. Could we get like a 48-hour day? That would be pretty cool. Have our days be 48 hours? Probably mess up the entire Earth's ecology or something.
That would do some crazy stuff. Just
all
imagine
the birds
that's a
and stuff
day.
are like-
That's a day-long night.
I didn't think about it quite like that. But it wouldn't feel like that because once you got used to the new rhythm, like there are people in JPL who live on Mars time, right? They're always in communication with the rover, so they're always on souls or whatever they call them on Mars, and they seem to adjust to it. I mean, there's a disconnect between what you see in the sun. And the same with astronauts on the station. Like, they're seeing a sunrise every 90 minutes. Yeah. And so they don't really get their cues on when it's time to get up and when it's time to go to bed based on the daylight. I think, though, if you adjusted when that daylight did happen, you would get pretty used to it. I'd imagine. I'd probably get used to it. I mean
everybody would get used to it at some point. But I still don't think people would be able to pull 24-hour days.
You just have like a hour-long nap in the middle, and you still get way more daylight. And then you can stay up real late at night and still get a whole night's rest.
Real late.
That would probably mess up more than I'm just thinking. Like, man, that would mess up time as we know it.
Speaking of messing up, how did we get so off topic?
It's space related. I don't know. We're just talking. We're just two friends talking. That's all. All right, other things, SpaceX news related. What's happening down in Boca Chica? I guess that's a big question.
Well, since the last time we recorded, we've had a hop, which that shows how long it's been since we recorded.
That does show you two things: how fast SpaceX moves, and yet at the same time how slowly SpaceX moves.
Yes, it had been Scrub City for the hops lately. And even now for SN6, which is supposed to, at the time of recording, try to hop tomorrow again. Hopefully it doesn't get scrubbed again. But it was originally, SN6 was originally supposed to try to hop on Sunday. When there was supposed to be 2 SpaceX launches in one day for the first time ever. Of course, one of those rockets got scrubbed. Yay.
Yeah.
And then so did the hop. But yeah, SN5 did its 150-meter hop. Even those little tiny legs.
What did you think of that?
I was so worried about the legs. Like, we had seen just like one picture of the legs before this, and then right as it's coming down, just in the glimpse before it goes into the debris cloud, you see them pop. I mean, they're probably the size of me and you, but compared to that huge booster, well, it's not even the booster, but still, compared to that Starship, it's like tiny.
The Elon confirmed on Twitter for the BFR they're going to be doing more Falcon 9 style landing legs, right?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but
there's going to be some huge landing legs. Like, I don't think people realize how big the Falcon 9 landing legs are just right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the pictures of when they're folding them up on the drone ship, like, at the port after they land, like, you see, like, little people and then, like, this big landing leg. And you're like, whoa, I forgot about that scale.
The pistons that they use are as wide as people are, if not wider.
Mm-hmm. Things are massive. And can you imagine how much bigger they're going to be for BFR? Like, at least a factor of 4. Like,
it's going to be nuts.
Things are going to be huge. Man. Like, I've seen the Saturn V in person in Houston, and that was a pretty humbling sight. You know, obviously
it's a big old rocket.
Horizontal. But, like, yeah, even an F1 engine is just like...
Stand inside of it, not reach the other side whenever you're reaching hands up.
Oh,
it's...
I could stand on 10 of myself and not reach the other side of an
Yeah.
F1 engine. Those things are huge. And as we all know, via all the memes, which are 100% confirmed, I'm literally as tall as the Burj Khalifa building in Dubai. So it's saying a lot for the F1 engine. But yeah, I really can't wait till one day when, either BFRs are so commonplace that I can actually go see one pretty easily, or, I do make it somewhere to where I couldn't see them. I want to stand real close to it and just like look up, and like that's going to change my whole perspective on this, because right now we just see the renders, right? And the renders, you lose scale so quickly. And I know there are the renders where it's like person BFR and it's like, oh wow, this thing's
9
huge.
meters wide.
I know,
30
what's a
feet
meter?
wide.
I'm from America.
That's a lot.
Speak that 30 feet. What? 30 feet wide. That's huge. That's huge. 30 feet.
Just imagine, even if you don't get close to it, just imagine watching that thing fall back down.
Oh my god.
That large. I'm ready for the booster to be made. Just looking at the new high bay that they're
The
building.
high bay? Yeah.
I'm
And they
If they-
can't
if they
even stack
said-
Starship on top of
Yeah.
BFR in the highway.
like
gosh.
you're gonna be able to see that for 10 miles.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. This is...
It's gonna be crazy whenever they finally get stuff done. And he's saying that they might possibly have a booster ready to go by October. That's a maybe if he means by the end of October. That's still 2 months away, but a little few days less than 2 months. But that's
So I
a
can
lot
imagine
to
them
do.
having a prototype stacked, similar to what they did with the last Starship talk.
Yeah,
But I don't
I
think
don't
the
think
full
they'll be able
stack
to
is going
fire
to fly
it.
in 2020.
no.
I think the full stack will at the very earliest be this time next year as far as actually launching.
Well, whenever
For
you
its
think
20 meter
of
hop equivalent.
the booster, it's literally just like twice the size of the Starship, but all tanks. Now, stacking it wise, yes, I think they could do it. Now, just making the tanks alone for that, they've never made a tank that big. I don't think that, like you said, stacking it for an event by the end of October, yeah. Firing that stack, no. Even if it's just static firing it, no.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. Like, you think back to last October when we had the event, we saw the first Starship prototype, and Elon's like, yeah, this one's going to be flying up to 20 kilometers next month. And we're all like, ah! And here we are. We haven't even done that yet. It's been almost a year, and it's in one way it's kind of sad, but in the other way, when you think of like where SLS was a year into its public development, like we're so much
Did they even
further
have a
along than
drawing of SLS into a year? I mean, come on.
Let's be nice to all the poor people over there who got roped into the SLS project. I really feel bad for the commercial crew astronauts who are on the Starliner, and I know that's Boeing, which is different than SLS, but like those poor astronauts who are stuck on legacy, aerospace companies, must be so painful to see your, not comrades, but whatever, your friends go up on Crew Dragon, and they already had the first test mission, they're getting ready for the first actual mission, and you're still sitting here like, I sure hope they figure out what time it is in my spacecraft.
Let's see if they I want to look at pre-launch preview and see if they have any idea of when that's going to go up. No, it's not on there yet. Let's see. I think they set a date at some point. I don't know when it is. Starliner demo 2, maybe. I call it that. Maybe it'll Boeing OFT 2. I see a landing date. Doesn't tell me when it's going up.
Huh. Not seeing anything on pre-launch previews.
It's supposed to be a 6-day mission, so let me go back and I'll actually be able to see it. So November 12th? And by then,
Okay.
Crew 1 will be going up.
I think Crew 1 will be on station, right?
Yeah, they'll be on station by then.
Man, that's pretty cool. And is the mission profile for the Starliner to actually visit the ISS? I can't recall because I know their first test was gonna visit, but then they scrubbed that.
Yeah,
with the
it's
time
gonna
issue.
be a visit. It's gonna be a 6-day visit.
It'll be an uncrewed 6-day visit,
yeah,
right?
uncrewed 6-day visit.
So it'll be the first time we have 2 commercial, human-rated spacecraft on station, 1 carrying crew.
Yeah.
That's still a pretty big accomplishment, and just showing you how frequent space travel is becoming. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not as frequent as airliners or cars by any stretch of the imagination, but still, we're having 1 crewed launch, 2 crewed launches, plus like a launch of another crewed-worthy spacecraft, plus I don't know how many, I think there's, 2, maybe 3 Soyuz missions? For sure 2. There's the... Well, no, that was in December, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
When did...
The current ones went up in like...
Was that December?
Ooh,
I think it was in
I
December.
don't know when the current ones went up.
I think it was in December.
Have they been up there that long?
I think so. And he's coming back pretty soon. Man, who is he?
I guess Crew... not Cassidy, never mind.
Chris...
I was thinking Chris Cassidy, but that's not it.
I need to get my astronauts better in my head. Although they're just people, just like us. I saw a picture of someone found was it Bob or Doug? Someone was standing in line at IKEA a couple days ago, and I was just like,
oh no, it is Chris Cassidy.
They are.
It is Chris Cassidy.
They are humans too.
Yeah. Okay. I was wrong with
So
my
when did he
doubting
go up?
myself.
Does it say when he went up last?
'Cause
I think it was in October because when I went to JSC in October, they had the two female astronauts who did the first all female spacewalk.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out.
They were
right
still
now.
on station, which was before Cassidy. Before Cassidy went up.
This was Expedition 63. They're set to land next month on the 21st, so October 21st. They launched on
so is it gonna
April 9th.
Oh,
they launched on
there's
April
another
9th.
Soyuz mission. There's another Soyuz mission coming up, isn't there? Because I was like, wait a minute, is it going to be? I can't leave the station unmanned. So there must be another. There must be another Soyuz. That's the woman astronaut who has the last American seat, right?
I think.
I recently saw that. I think she's blonde, if I remember.
Let's
correctly.
see.
I need to be better about my astronaut names.
Launch date for Crew 1 is October 23rd. So, yeah, there must be a Soyuz going up, and then Crew 1's going to go up, too, and make it 7 people on the station for the first time in a long time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty cool. I was watching... Man, which video was it? Maybe it was that... I think it was that Scott Manley video that we were talking about earlier. But the astronauts who first went up on the space shuttle, the first space shuttle astronauts to go on station, and how it was like a mixed crew and of Russian cosmonauts and American astronauts, and how the commander of the space shuttle and the ranking officer of the cosmonauts both went through the hatches at the same time. And I'm like, that is so awkward. Like the hatch on the space shuttle is like, what, 2.5 feet wide or something? And so these
Barely
two
big
like
enough for both of
full-grown
them.
men are like almost hugging each other going through this hatch at the same time because they are equal and they must, whatever. No one was on the station first. They went on. I'm just like, oh my gosh, national pride is such a funny thing. Can't just flip a coin in space, I guess, huh? That'd be very difficult.
Yeah, well, you
to flip a
could, but
coin in
it's been
space.
for a very long time.
It's been for a very long time. Bounce off a couple walls and hopefully not break anything too important. Yeah. Hey, I saw a render a while ago, and I saw it a long time ago, but it came back up in my YouTube timeline of Sea Dragon. Have you heard anything about this old rocket that was proposed but never flew?
The first time I ever actually saw I heard the term, the name, the idea before this, but the first time I actually saw a render of it was in For All Mankind.
That was probably the most epic render out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like,
But I did not realize whenever it was like sea launch, it would literally meant let's sink it down 150 meters or whatever, however tall the thing was, and then launch it from the water. Never realized it was that big.
Yeah, it's pretty massive. Yeah. Anyway, I was watching some some other renders, but I also pulled up that For All Mankind one, which I'm all about accuracy, and For All Mankind's not an accurate TV show by any stretch of the imagination, as far as even like what the original plans were. Like, they took inspiration from real things, which is great, good for them. But like, they got quite a few things wrong. And one of the things they got wrong was in their render, they had the entire Sea Dragon submerged except for the little command module at the top. Like, I get why they did that, because it made the reveal that much more exciting to like be, it's still getting bigger. Oh my gosh, it's still coming. Whoa. Like, I get why they did it cinematography wise, but the original plan was to only sink it about halfway, because that's where it's neutrally buoyant. You just want just enough ballast to pop it up right. But the Navy actually did some testing for that in like 1962.
Really? And
they took an old like missile, or I guess maybe it wasn't old in the 60s, but they took like some kind of missile they found from somewhere, and they put it on this assembly, suspending it over like a harbor, and they lit the rocket, and they slowly lowered it into the ocean to see what would happen. Like, would it continue igniting? Would it stop? How would the vibrations affect the body? And they said it performed even better. Like, the ocean was dampening the sound and turning a lot of that sonic energy into heat energy, which is good. That's what they did with the space shuttle, to try to dent in some of the noise. And anyway, I'm like, this is such an efficient system, right? Like, Elon has to have thought about this. And I guess the biggest reason why you don't want to put things in the ocean is because of salt water.
Reusability.
And so I can understand why he's chosen the design as it is, but like, why hasn't anyone else tried anything like this? Like, it doesn't have to be on that same
I think it's
scale.
just complexity. Like, I mean,
really?
you've got to learn how to, one, launch a rocket, and then two, launch a rocket that is launching out of the water. And then you also have to figure out how to light the engines underwater. And I mean, that's not that hard to do. You just put some seals on anything that's like open to the outside, and then as soon as it starts, it blows it off, and then nothing's ever going to get back in it. But still, like, if NASA didn't even try a full-scale rocket out of the water, I really don't think anybody else is going to be crazy enough to, whenever it's such a push to reusability at this point.
That makes sense, but the Navy has already been using underwater rockets for years and years and years. Like, all submarine launched missiles are underwater rockets.
But they're a different type, though.
Are they solid rockets, or are they? I think they're liquid propelled. They're in hypergolics, right?
They are, but I think it is air pressure that shoots them up out of the water, and then maybe a small other one. Because whenever you see a video of a rocket coming out of a submarine, kind of like pops up out of the water and then launches fast again.
I think that's one type of rocket, but I'm pretty sure that there's a kind of rocket that actually starts underwater and goes all the way out. But I
and if then it might also be like in a dry bay and then shooting it up.
Possibly, yeah. That's a possibility too.
It's okay. This is popular mechanics. It's fired by a steam cannon. First, an explosive charge flash vaporizes a tank of water into steam, as the pressure of the expanding steam drives the missile out of its launch tube. So, air pressure, somewhat.
That's interesting. An explosive air pressure.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cannon almost. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's how you get really big rockets. Like, I think Falcon Heavy and the Saturn V are kind of like, I mean, you could do BFR. Obviously, they're getting close to BFR, but like, it's really, really, really big.
Yeah.
Like just the logistics of transporting that become a problem on the surface of the Earth. In the ocean, we transport, let's see. What's the biggest like movable thing? Like pretty much like an airplane, right?
Yeah.
Like I think like a 747 or an A380 is the biggest thing on land that we move on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That's like on wheels. Like there's probably, some like bridge on wheels or something I'm not thinking of. But as far as like normal day things, like airplanes are about the biggest thing that we move on the ground with wheels. Rockets, are less every day, but we move those on the ground with either like a train like the Soyuz and the Falcon 9, or I'm not sure how they're planning on moving BFR, but I'd imagine some kind of train setup.
It's too big to go on roads at this point.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they have to make it next to the launch pad, which is all fine and dandy until something goes kaboom, and you not only got to remake a rocket, you also got to remake the factory that makes the rocket.
I think what's going to end up happening again is going to be barging it everywhere. Until, I do think refurbishment and stuff like that will probably be on the same site, but I doubt it'll be made unless it's in Boca Chica, where they'll just take out a little platform in the Gulf right there. But other than that, like if they're going to launch from Kennedy, I don't know if they're going to build them at Kennedy.
But at some point, like it just becomes too big to move, not acting as its own floatable vessel. Like sure, you can get a barge, you can get a couple barges, but you got to make machinery to get it on the barge and off the barge, like tilting it upright and tilting it on its side, assuming that you're going to put it on the barge on the side, which makes sense. And I guess Elon's always talking about these ocean platforms, like kind of like oil rigs. So I guess they're going to have some kind of barge set up to get it out there. But I don't know. Like that just seems like such a big hoopla where you might as well just design the rocket out of something easy to spray off, like, stainless steel.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we already make boats out of. We make them out of steel and paint them with some kind of oxidizing resistant paint. And obviously the precision and the loads are a ton different. So I don't know what I'm talking about, people on the internet. But
we're all just shooting at the stars for these.
Exactly. At the stars, quite literally. Maybe I'll hit Earthy one of these days. Like, I would never hurt Earthy. I'd never hit you, but I'd aim for you. Especially if I was on a return trajectory from the moon, I'd be aiming for Earthy. There has to be some kind of way to... Because, like, the only way that we're going to get payloads bigger than what the Starship and BFR can do in one launch is going to be like a Sea Dragon type thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think BFR and Saturn V are, like, the biggest we can get on Earth. And building things in space is fine too. And I think as we get more sophisticated with that and less just putting modules together and more actually building things in space.
I think the building things is what's really going to start happening as soon as, like, if we can get a large enough space into space that a
volume.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's
into
what
the
I was
black
looking for.
volume.
But if we can get a large enough workshop up in space that's able to actually be worked in with these delicate objects and make it usable, then I think we'll be able to work in space and build stuff in space. But until we can get large enough workshops up in space, I don't think it's going to happen for a long time.
Yeah, that's fair. The ISS is as exciting as it's been and as much science as it's been able to produce. It hasn't really done anything at scale, like ever. So I think the next manned project needs to do something at scale, whether that's manufacturing or tourism or, some kind of transplanetary station building or something. It needs to just do one thing at scale. And I think after that we've unlocked space. Man. Yeah. Hey, have you gotten Starlink in your area? I figure I need to ask.
Sadly not yet, but I mean, we do have test speeds.
We do?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Let me look at test speeds.
When was that?
A few weeks back.
I've been out of the loop for a while. Okay.
Let's see.
Well, they took everyone's addresses, as last I heard, because they
I put my address in for both houses. Here we go. List of confirmed Starlink test speeds. So we're looking around like probably 30 average download speed right now with the limited amount of coverage that they have, and then around 10 to 15 for upload. So crying from your awful speeds.
That's so sad because that's a ton better than the previous internet that I've had, but we're paying for some crazy expensive business internet that is just barely better than that. It's 20 up and 20 down.
Yeah. Oh, let me make you cry a little bit. I'm paying for 200 down and 20 up, and I'm getting about 300 down and 30 up.
We're probably paying the same amount.
I'm paying like $60 a month for it.
Oh! Ouch! Ow. I'm paying 300.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. Well. Man, that's kind of sad. It's about 10% of the speed I was hoping out of Starlink.
Well, I mean, that's also the way they're launching right now is they're getting wide coverage. So it's more or less like geostationary right now with the type of coverage that they're doing. But as they launch more, they'll get more satellites in covering certain areas. Yeah. So by the time it's actually publicly available, or it's like a year after it's publicly available, speeds will start going up more and more. Because, I mean, they're doing 40,000 total satellites is their goal. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be at, 500 kilometers and 850 kilometers or something like that. The two levels that they're wanting to do. Something like that.
I think so. Sounds right.
But, I mean, by the time they get 40,000 satellites in total, it's going to cover the world and give enough bandwidth for crazy speeds.
But hey, we got to have 5G. So that's so much more important than Starlink last I checked. 5G! Oh my gosh. Do you have 5G on AT&T?
No, I don't have AT&T.
Oh.
Yeah. I got rid of that like a year and a half ago. I have Verizon right now. Luckily, I got rid of it before they started doing that crap.
See, if I was on AT&T, I would have left just because of that fake marketing. I hate you. Yeah, that was not cool. How did we get off space again? So if there was here, I don't think I've asked you this question. If there was one planet you could visit tomorrow, and all of your basic needs would be taken care of, oxygen, radiation, temperature, pressure, all that. Which planet would you visit tomorrow?
Pluto. Because
That's
they made
it. I'm sorry. Wrong answer.
That is my answer. They took away its planethood.
Does not compute.
Ooh, let's see. Mars is too overrated. Venus will kill you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most every other planet will kill you.
Any stellar body.
Honestly, one of the is it Jupiter that has the moons?
Yeah. You thinking Titan?
Yeah. I want to go to Titan.
Okay. Well,
just imagine the sight just looking from Titan at Jupiter.
That would be less impressive than you think. I think from the surface of Titan, Jupiter looks about the size of our moon.
Dang it.
I know.
Well, there goes that.
Right? You expect like this huge, like luminous. Maybe it's if that order of magnitude bigger or smaller. I don't know. But I did remember watching a video where it's like it's not as impressive as you'd think. It's like you'd think it's like some big, looming crescent above you with swirls. But yeah, still be very pretty to look at through like a good power telescope on Titan. Titan's definitely my favorite destination. Out of anywhere in the solar system, but obviously it's really hard to get to. And I don't know how I didn't know this until like three years ago or so, but we've like sent a probe to Titan that landed on Titan. We have
What?
close-up pictures of the surface of Titan. We have atmospheric samples, and we have an audio recording of what the sound was like while the probe was descending into the surface of Titan. It was
I
a
did
part
not
of the
know
Galileo
that.
mission, I believe. I know. I did not know that either.
It
Until,
was let's see.
was it Galileo? Or
No, it was part of
Juno?
the Cassini
Cassini.
Huygens mission.
Okay, Cassini. All right.
Yeah, because
And when did that-
Huygens was the spacecraft that landed on Titan, so they went together.
Okay. Yeah. That was a really fascinating thing. And like no one seems to know that. Like we're all
It
like,
was
Mars,
released
Mars, Mars.
released from Cassini on Christmas Day of 2004.
Okay. Yeah. And like there's a 10-second video of it landing. Like you can watch the whole like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's just a crash impact, but you can watch as it gets closer and closer to the mountains and the lakes made out of whatever that is, methane gas. Like that would be a place to go for Starship.
It was
right? Like,
built by ESA, so that's probably why we haven't heard as much about it.
stupid nationalism. ESA's awesome, guys. Come on.
I didn't realize
funny.
Cassini was that old.
Yeah, Cassini was launched right around when I was born, like 98, I believe.
Something like that.
98 or 97. With family who actually worked on Cassini. And it's like that thing was actually Cassini was the largest
October 15th, 97.
man-made 97. Cassini was the largest man-made object we've ever sent out of Earth's gravity well. It's like the size of a school bus. Like Cassini is.
It was launched from
huge.
LC-40.
I wouldn't be surprised. And what was the launch vehicle? Like a
Titan
Titan?
4B Centaur.
Titan 4B. Jeez. 4B. Has 4 solid rocket boosters on the outside of a Titan. Jeez. Oh man, that's a pretty big lift rocket. And they did like a bunch of gravity assists, so it took forever to get over to Jupiter. I think they did one off the moon, and like one off like Venus or Mars or one of the two, and then on to Jupiter.
Let's see.
But Jupiter, approaching Jupiter, I'm pretty sure they did like because it's in orbit. They did like a braking gravity assist where like they inverse the instead of it gaining energy, it like loses energy in the transfer. That's pretty cool because lots of spacecraft take energy from Jupiter on their flybys throughout the solar system, but this spacecraft gave energy back.
There was only 2 solid rockets on this. The Titan 4B is a type of rocket. It's not like the new ones where they classify the solid rocket boosters in the name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That thing is still massive.
yeah, it's chunky.
That thing looks huge.
Oh, dang it. Took me the wrong thing.
Dang.
Oh, yeah. It's big.
That thing's huge. Yeah, but Cassini is probably like one of my favorite unmanned missions. Like, obviously, like, maybe, I don't know. Actually, Cassini might be at the top of the list. I'll have to think about it for a brief second longer. But Cassini is kind of like so underrated in my opinion. Like, no one seems to know about Cassini, but like it like legit sent pictures back from Titan's surface.
Yeah.
And like full on video of its landing and audio recording. Like hearing things in space is so cool. Like I can't remember if it was Curiosity or something, but they also had like a microphone on as one of the instrument suites on the instrument suite. And like listening to a different planet's wind is like kind of eerie because it sounds a lot like Earth, but yet like no human has ever been there.
Yeah.
Or likely will for the next decade. And in Titan's case,
way longer.
I'm being yeah. So did a moon flyby. Cassini did a moon flyby, and then a Saturn flyby. Oh no, wait, what? Did it go on to Saturn? Hold on, Jupiter flyby.
Cassini crashed into whatever was orbiting.
After a long time.
Yeah.
Think Cassini's mission was like 3 or 4 years. And there's a ton of science. When it orbited Saturn? Wait, what? On July 2004, the spacecraft flew through the gap between the F and G rings and achieved orbit after a 7-year voyage. It was the first spacecraft ever to orbit Saturn. Wait, what?
Yeah. It lost
it not
contact September
stop?
15th, 2017.
Yeah, I remember when it died, and that's kind of when I was learning. And that's actually probably when I figured out about Titan, the video in Titan. Did it not stop at Jupiter? I thought it stopped at Jupiter. No, it just did a Jupiter flyby.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, that's fascinating. See, I'm always learning things. Learn a new thing every day.
There's so much that is
Please,
going into space,
Titan's
but
a
we just
Saturn
don't know
moon.
about.
Oh my
Have we
gosh,
been?
Titan's
We've
a
been
Saturn
seriously
moon.
saying this wrong the whole time. If you were listening right now and you've been yelling at us the whole time, don't worry. We're stupid. We know that.
You're not here for the education. You're here for the entertainment. So we have entertained you as you've been yelling at your phone screen. Titan's a moon of Saturn. What are you talking about, you two idiots on the internet? Who gave you a microphone and a camera? Yeah, Titan is Saturn's moon. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Oops.
Well, you know, we're not perfect. Congratulations, everyone. You've discovered this.
There's a big mess up of the podcast.
Yeah, we should just start over. Like, honestly, we can totally just repeat the entire conversation we've had, but correct that one small error.
No, it's like the first time you actually edit anything, it's like you record Jupiter and then you just replace.
replace. It's just
Like, not even try to
voiceover job.
Not even try
Jupiter.
to like change how the mouth looks when it does it. Just saying Jupiter.
And Saturn. We need to say Saturn, not Jupiter.
Yes.
We're still messing it up.
Crap.
We're trying to correct it. We're still messing it up. So Titan is your top pick, which was probably going to be my top pick too. But since you have picked that, I will pick Europa, which is another one of Saturn's moons. I do know that Europa is one of Saturn's moons. It's the ice world that is likely hiding a liquid ocean.
I'm ready for
very
Europa Clipper
fascinating.
to go up so we can actually explore more of it.
I know. When is that mission supposed to go up?
Sometime in 2024.
Wow, that's a long time away.
Yeah.
Who knows if we'll be around?
It looks like
2021 is
it's
anything like 2020.
It is one more of the Delta IV Heavy launches.
Really?
Yes, it's either or actually take that back. It's supposed to go up on SLS, but Delta IV Heavy is an option.
2025. Oh no, set for launch in 2024. Interesting. Europa Clipper.
Now this is just what
Not
comes
gonna
up on
arrive
the.
until 2031.
Oh my god,
we're gonna be old men by then. Be like,
that's
"Back in my
that's
day."
11. That's 11 years from now.
Man, it's a long time.
Oh wow, 33. Jeez.
When you think of like the computing power that are on some of these interplanetary missions, like obviously Voyager 1 and 2 and Pioneer 1 and 2 are practically nothing on the compute scale. But even like New Horizons, which is like pretty recent as far, I think that was went up in 2005. I think New Horizons went up in 2005. Sounds about right.
Something around that area, I believe.
Like,
Don't quote me on it because we've definitely been wrong so far.
we have been pretty wrong. Actually, let's just fact check our New Horizons.
I'm trying to figure out. I remember listening earlier, sometime this summer, to something, but it was talking about the computer in the Curiosity rover, and it's like, it's not powerful whatsoever.
2006, January 19th, 2006. So it's basically 2005. I mean,
Close
January
enough.
19th, 2006 is practically 2005, folks. But yeah, even some of the Martian rovers are like, their guts are like
it's
a
less
3-year-old.
it's less powerful than a phone.
Exactly, like an old like grocery store Android phone might be better spec'd than some of these rovers. And I get they're only running like, you know, their code when
Tiny
I had
bits
on,
of code, but
Michael, like, yeah, he was like, yeah, there's like practically no software on it, right? Like the software is like as simple as it gets, which is good.
you can only send so much at one time because I can't remember how many megabits that you can send in a certain amount of time to Mars, but it's tiny.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, and now I'm feeling self-conscious about me just knowing things. But yeah, it's practically nothing. So in some ways, you don't actually need that much compute power, and a lot of the compute power is spent on redundancy because there's a lot of solar and cosmic radiation, so you got to have bit flip redundancy.
Yeah.
Which takes up 4 or 5 times the amount of actual physical processing power to be able to run the same calculation. So that's why they don't just plug an iPhone into the rover and have it be way more powerful.
So the data rates, this is from NASA.gov.
Okay.
Varies from
So
about
super
500
fake news.
from about 500 bits per second to 32,000 bits per second.
So is that 32 kilobits? kbps?
32 kilobytes a second. Wow, I was way off.
Wow, that's
the
kinda
data rate
sad.
for the Odyssey orbiter is a selectable 128,000 or 256,000 bits a second.
256,000 bits per second.
That's a 256K modem.
Oh, when you put it in bits, it sounds much larger.
Yeah.
Like 200. Oh, no, that's interesting. Well, so in some ways they don't need the extra compute power, but in other ways I'm like, but what if you had it?
Yeah.
Like,
what could you
what
do?
Could they do with it? Like,
Even if
what
you
kind
can't
of
get
science
it
could they
back?
put on board? Exactly. Like, okay, maybe leave, mission critical software and systems on that, but like stick an Adreno up there or whatever, like those little programmable, like little computer on a boards.
Yeah.
Stick a couple of those on there, like, and have it do some kind of weird science that you can't do with stuff on the ground. And that's kind of where I'm like excited with this next mission, to the Europa Clipper mission. Like, it looks like they're going to have a little U1 CubeSat on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which may very well be, well, I guess there's a mission to Mars that'll be having, actually I think it's in the current flotilla.
Here we go. I found the chip name. It's, get this, a Power PC chip on the Curiosity rover.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm just seeing Steve Jobs up there being like, and we found the roadmap for PowerPC is much more futuristic. Even though Intel's not planning on going to Mars, PowerPC is going to Mars. That's funny. PowerPC what chip?
PowerPC Rad 750.
Okay. Well, I don't know what that equates to.
I don't either. It's
Apple
let's
speak,
see.
But
2 gigabytes of flash memory.
jeez.
And 256 megabytes of RAM.
The iPhone 4 had more storage and RAM.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, when you think when Curiosity was probably built, that was what, 2010 when Curiosity was built?
Well, you got to start thinking
it
of
launched in
a lot of the stuff that they had whenever they started
design
building it. So
consideration.
it's like 2008.
Yeah, that makes sense. Man, these
But
things are
even
just
then,
older
that's
than
still
we
bad.
Realize. Yeah, like Mars 2020 was like, the design was finalized in what, 2015 or something?
Something like
so
that.
Like, I'm sure it's using 2013 processors that were, pretty cutting edge, but are now 7 years old.
Well, it's I think the processor is the same.
Oh, really? Between Curiosity and
I think.
Mars 2020?
What computer? What's the name of this one? Perseverance.
Percy.
Let's see. Let's see what Google will give me. The rover compute element interfaces with yada yada yada. That did not tell me anything. Let's see. PowerPC 750 architecture. Yeah,
Jeez.
same thing. 200 megahertz. Although it is 10 times the speed of Spirit and Opportunity. So that's, either way, that's slow. Because you're thinking computers running gigahertz now, and they're running in
Not
megahertz. Of course, they're having a lot of shielding and they're trying to keep it very, very stable. But wow, that is slow.
And you just think of the physical size that they have to, like the physical volume that they have to commit to in that rover for the chip. Like right now in iPhone, a 13 chip or whatever, it's like the size of your pinky nail. Is so small. But I don't know how big those PowerPC, but I'd imagine they're about the size of your thumb.
No, like the whole board assembly. I can send you a link to this, but the whole board assembly is probably about that big.
Yeah, that would make sense. But like the chip is probably about the size of your thumb.
Yeah,
I believe there are two of them running in redundancy, but like computer A and computer B. But if you think just microizing it, these 2030 missions are going to be using today's technology, hopefully, which would allow them to do these CubeSats, because that's wow, man. It doesn't look. That almost looks like something someone could make in their basement,
especially with those colorful wires.
Exactly. It yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's doesn't look quite as impressive as I thought it was going to look. But yeah, that's a pretty good sized board. And if you imagine like the Apple Watch, right? Like our Apple Watch has like a whole SIP system in on chip, SIC system on chip,
SOC
package, SOC. Thank you, Scott Forstall, or not Scott Forstall. Johnny I have talked about it in his reveal video. The Apple S1 chip is blah blah blah. Anyway, I think we're spiraling. We're definitely off the topic of space now. And so you want to go to Titan. I want to go to Europa. Both of which are moons of Saturn, not moons of Jupiter. Who would have thunk? And now we know. And yeah. So any closing thoughts there, DJ? Before we spiral this one out of control some more?
Whenever we can finally actually go. If I'm still alive, sign me up.
Hey, even if I'm not alive, sign me up.
Just take my ashes. There we go.
You know that service that allows you to put your ashes in orbit for like $250,000 or something? Like if I had like tons of money, I'd be like,
this is a good way to go.
Exactly. What else am I going to do? Sit in a box for the rest of eternity? I'll just fly up in space and then deorbit a couple weeks later. All right, man. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been great talking to you, and I'll catch you guys later. See you in the stars.